All right, so the question here says to find two non-negative numbers, x and y, for which x plus 3y is equal to 30 and x squared times y is as large as possible. So there are a few ways to look at this, but what this essentially comes down to, it's an optimization problem that doesn't have the usual context it does, like find the area of this shape and things like that. So you know for a fact that no matter what your x and y have to be, just like this equation over here says, x plus 3y is equal to 30. And you want to make this as large as possible, hint, hint, so you're going to want to be able to derive x squared times y. But you can't derive an equation like this when it's only made up of just two variables. So we're going to need to shorten that down to one variable. So the first thing we would do is isolate for one of the variables, either x or y. I'm going to isolate for y since it would be easier because you're going to have to end up squaring if you substitute for your x. So that means that y is equal to 10 minus x over 3. It's just bringing it over, dividing by 3, things like that. So we can go into this equation now. We can say we have x squared times 10 minus x over 3, which is 10x squared minus x3 over 3. All right, now we are going to be able to derive this. So if we just apply our derivative to that of 10x squared minus x3 over 3, we're going to get 20x minus x squared. And we want to set this equal to 0 and solve for our zeros. And we have x equals 0 and x equals 20. So obviously x equals 0 doesn't necessarily help us out here because we're looking for the largest number. So we are going to look at x equals 20. That's our first value. So we know in our equation x plus 3y equals 30, where x is equal to 20. So we can plug back into our original rearranged form that we have here for y. And we could say, well, y is equal to 10 minus x over 3. And plug it in. Y is equal to 10 minus 20 over 3. Multiply everything by 3 just to get rid of that denominator. You have 3y is equal to 30 minus 20. You have 3y is equal to 10. Y is equal to 10 over 3, which is about 3.3 forever. But you have 10 over 3. And you can check that this works because, well, first of all, if you go to the actual question, it says two non-negative numbers. Sorry about that. Two non-negative numbers. It doesn't say anything about them being integers, so they don't have to necessarily be whole values. And if we look at what we have here, x plus 3y equals 30. Well, if x is 20, like we said before, we have 20 plus 3 times 10 over 3 equals 30. And that's exactly what we get because this 3 and that 3 cancel out. So you're left with 20 plus 10 equals 30. Furthermore, you can check once again that if you tried to plug in your x equals 0, you get 0 plus 3y equals 30, which just means that y would have to equal 10 because then it's 3 times 10 equals 30. But we are looking for two non-negative numbers for x and y, but this doesn't necessarily satisfy x squared times y being the largest it could possibly be. With x being 0, you'd get 0 squared times y, which is just equal to 0. That is, that's not as helpful as if we were to plug in these values now. If we were to say 20 squared times 10 over 3, you can already see that that's greater than 0. Don't even have to calculate it. So again, your final results are x equals 20 and y equals 10 over 3.